Hey everyone, when you think of a witch, what comes to mind? A cackling old woman stirring a bubbling cauldron, or perhaps a bespectacled teenager waving a magic wand. Witches have captured the human imagination for centuries, appearing in everything from fairy tales to heavy metal music. The word witch has a long history, first appearing in written English in the 14th century. Derived from the Old English word wix, meaning one who practices witchcraft. The term originally carried no gender specification and referred to anyone who dabbled in magic, both good and evil. By the 16th century, however, with the emergence of the infamous Salem Witch Trials, the term had taken on a darker connotation, referring almost exclusively to female practitioners of the occult. In modern times, witches are often portrayed as benevolent healers and sorceresses. But what did people really believe about witches during the height of their persecution? To answer this question, we'll have to travel back in time and uncover the truth behind these terrifying tales. So sit tight, because today we're retaking a trip through time to reveal the scary truth about witches. Ancient origins. The belief in witches and witchcraft is widespread and ancient, dating back to prehistoric times. Ancient civilizations such as the Egyptians, Greeks, and Romans all had their own beliefs and practices surrounding magic and sorcery. In ancient Egypt, magic was closely tied to religion and was used for both benevolent and malevolent purposes. Egyptian sorcerers were known as Hekayim, and they were believed to have the ability to heal the sick, protect the pharaoh, and control the elements. The ancient Greeks believed that witchcraft was practiced by both humans and supernatural beings, such as nymphs and demons. In Greek mythology, the sorceress Medea is a famous example of a powerful witch who uses her magic for revenge. The Romans also had a rich tradition of magical beliefs and practices. And they believed that witches could be identified by the mark of the beast, an abnormal physical feature such as an extra nipple or a birthmark. During the Middle Ages, the fear of witches reached its peak in Europe. And during this time, people began to believe that witches were the devil's servants who used their powers to harm others. This belief led to the infamous Salem Witch Trials, in which more than 200 people were accused of witchcraft. What really happened in Salem? The Salem Witch Trials were a dark chapter in American history. They took place in Salem, Massachusetts, between 1692 and 1693, when a group of young girls accused several women of practicing witchcraft. The trials resulted in the imprisonment of over 200 people, the execution of 20 individuals, and the death of several others while in prison. Accusations of witchcraft spread like wildfire, fueled by fear, superstition, and religious extremism. The trials themselves were a travesty of justice, with little regard for due process or the presumption of innocence. The accused were often coerced into confessing their supposed crimes through torture and intimidation. The legacy of the Salem Witch Trials continues to haunt us today, serving as a reminder of the dangers of mass hysteria and religious intolerance. The Malleus Maleficarum. The Malleus Maleficarum, or The Hammer of Witches, was an influential book on witchcraft written in the 15th century by Heinrich Kramer, a German Dominican friar. It became the standard manual for witch hunters during the early modern period and was translated into several languages, including English, French, and Italian. The book contains a wealth of information on the beliefs and practices surrounding witchcraft, as well as instructions on how to identify, capture, and punish witches. According to the Malleus Maleficarum, witches were typically identified through a variety of means, including the observation of abnormal behavior, the discovery of magical objects, or the testimony of witnesses. Once a witch was suspected, they were subjected to a series of tests designed to confirm their guilt, such as being forced to swim in a body of water while being tied up. If they floated, they were considered innocent, while if they sank, they were deemed guilty. The book also contained a number of gruesome illustrations depicting various aspects of witchcraft, such as the execution of witches and the tools used in their torture. The Devil's Mark. In the minds of many, a witch's most recognizable feature was the Devil's Mark, also known as the Witch's Mark. This was an abnormal physical feature that was said to indicate that a person had made a pact with the devil and was practicing witchcraft. The mark itself could take many forms, such as a birthmark, an extra nipple, or a scar, and it was often accompanied by other signs of witchcraft, such as an unusual number of fingers or toes. Accusations of bearing the devil's mark were a common way of identifying a witch, and those accused were often subjected to intense scrutiny and even torture to determine the nature of their mark. Some people believed that the devil's mark could only be seen with special equipment, such as a ring or a glass, while others believed that it could be felt by touch. The existence of the devil's mark remains a controversial topic, with some people believing that it is nothing more than a superstition, while others believe that it is a real phenomenon that can be identified through careful observation and investigation. Witch hunts. The fear of witches and the belief that they were a threat to society led to a period of intense persecution known as the witch hunt. During the height of the witch craze in Europe, thousands of people were accused of witchcraft and subjected to brutal trials and punishments. The most common method of identifying witches was through the use of torture devices. These devices were often used to extract confessions or to gather evidence of witchcraft. One of the most infamous torture devices used during the witch hunts was the ducking stool. This device consisted of a chair or stool that was attached to a post or tree, and it was used to punish women accused of petty crimes, such as gossiping or slander. The accused would be tied up and then lowered into a nearby body of water. If they were deemed innocent, they would float, but if they were found guilty, they would sink. Another common method of identifying witches was through the use of a water test. In this test, an accused witch would be stripped naked and tied up, and then thrown into a river or other body of water. If they floated, they were considered innocent, but if they sank, they were seen as guilty. Of course, there was a significant flaw in these methods, as those who were actually innocent could drown in the process of being cleared of wrongdoing. The Witches' Sabbath. The Witches' Sabbath was a central figure in the beliefs surrounding witchcraft during the early modern period. It was believed that witches gathered at night for secret rituals, including the worship of Satan. These gatherings were said to take place in remote locations such as forests, caves, or abandoned buildings. During the Sabbath, witches were believed to engage in a variety of activities, including dancing, drinking, and engaging in sexual activity. They were also said to have flown on broomsticks or other objects and to have participated in black masses. The belief in the Witches' Sabbath contributed to the growing fear and persecution of witches during this time period. As accusations of witchcraft spread, so did the belief in the sinister activities that took place at these secret gatherings. Famous faces of fear. Throughout history, there have been many famous faces accused of witchcraft. One of the most famous cases was that of the 19th century American novelist and poet Edgar Allan Poe. Poe was accused of witchcraft by his detractors, who claimed that his tales of horror and the macabre were the work of the devil himself. While Poe was not a practitioner of witchcraft, his stories certainly tapped into the darker aspects of the human psyche and explored themes that were often considered taboo at the time. Another famous face accused of witchcraft was that of the British author Agatha Christie. Christie was the author of some of the best-known mystery novels of all time, including The Mysterious Affair at Styles and Murder on the Orient Express. However, some of her critics accused her of using witchcraft to come up with her intricate plots and clever solutions. Modern practices today, witchcraft is often seen as a modern form of paganism that emphasizes the connection between humans and the natural world. Modern witches often practice a form of nature-based spirituality that draws upon ancient traditions and beliefs. They may also use magic and spells as a way of connecting with the forces of nature and harnessing their power for personal growth and transformation. While modern witchcraft is often seen as benign and even wholesome, it's important to remember that the history of witchcraft is a complex and often troubling one. The belief in witches and witchcraft has led to the persecution, torture, and even murder of innocent people throughout history. It is a reminder that we should always be wary of the dangers of superstition and religious extremism, and that we should never allow fear and prejudice to dictate our actions. Thanks for watching. Do you know any more interesting facts about witches? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe for more videos like this. And as always, thanks for watching.